Don Cornelius, the mastermind behind the music sensation Soul Train, was a true icon of his era. His impact on American television is simply immeasurable. The revolutionary series aired nationwide from 1971 to 1993 with Cornelius as host. Later, continuing until 2006 with other presenters, the electrifying show spotlighted the finest Black musical talent and even featured a few white artists who resonated with Black audiences. In this daring move, Cornelius shattered the barriers of Black representation on American TV. Never had Black talent been celebrated so boldly, and never were Black viewers catered to so directly with both content and ads. Yet, as CNN reports, Soul Train also captivated white audiences, quickly becoming one of the most watched music shows in the U.S. Cornelius embodied pure charisma and turned into a cherished presence on screen during his long run as host. Still, he shocked everyone by stepping down from hosting in 1993, leaving his loyal viewers utterly stunned. But that wasn't the whole story. Even after stepping away from the glaring spotlight, Cornelius remained a key figure behind the scenes, yet his personal life soon made scandalous headlines, legal troubles, and a devastating suicide in 2012. The age of 75 added even more to the mystery. At his peak, hardly anyone knew the real Don Cornelius. My father was extremely private. And unfortunately, when you're a private person, you keep things inside, his son, Tony, revealed to Reuters following his tragic death. Consequently, only his closest circle knew what drove him to leave the face of Soul Train. The shocking enigma of his turbulent private struggles and the scandalous whispers that followed only deepened the mystery surrounding his astonishing life. Every detail of his journey remained shrouded in intrigue, and what happened next would shock everyone. 1982, a fateful operation transformed Don Cornelius's life forever. This pivotal moment set the stage for unexpected challenges and revelations. But that wasn't the whole story. He seldom spoke about his condition, yet he offered glimpses into how the operation affected his daily routine. In a 1995 interview with The Washington Post, he stated, "My health history does not allow me to be what I used to be as a manager or as an entrepreneur." Regarding the 21-hour procedure, and here it gets interesting. In his later years, Cornelius shunned the limelight and preferred to remain unseen. However, his name occasionally splashed across the tabloids, thanks to disturbing tales from his private life. The beloved Soul Train hero's reputation plummeted in 2008 when shocking details emerged. It was revealed that he was arrested on domestic violence charges, and his wife even filed restraining orders against him. Initially, he denied the charges, but he later admitted his guilt and served 3 years on probation. But the story was far from over. As more of his personal struggles surfaced in the media, it became clear that his health had been deteriorating for years. Over the final 15 years of his life, he suffered from seizures due to his condition, leaving him frustrated and depressed. Yet, despite his troubled past, Cornelius's legacy in music endures. In 2023, news broke that he would be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for his monumental contributions to music and for pioneering his groundbreaking show. The impact of Don Cornelius on American culture is best captured in one unforgettable exchange with singer James Brown, and the intrigue only deepened from there. Cornelius himself recounts a remarkable story in VH1's acclaimed 2010 documentary, Soul Train, The Hippest Trip in America. It marked the first appearance of the godfather of soul on his then-nascent syndicated TV show, created to do for soul music and Black audiences what American Bandstand had done for pop music and mainstream viewers. But that wasn't the final twist. James Brown was astonished by the production's professionalism and flawless execution. He turned to Cornelius and asked, "Who's backing you on this, man?" Cornelius replied, "It's just me, James." Brown, clearly puzzled, repeated the question twice, and each time Cornelius simply answered, "It's just me, James." It is almost unbelievable that the man who penned the hit, "Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud," the very voice of the Black Power movement, was also the mastermind behind a TV empire he built without white patronage. This astounding fact stands as a testament to the magnitude and sheer improbability of Cornelius's achievements. And that was only the beginning. Soul Train burst onto the scene in 1970 on a Chicago TV station and quickly spread to dozens of American markets. With this groundbreaking show, Cornelius forged the very first Black-owned, nationally syndicated TV franchise. He became the television equivalent of record moguls like Berry Gordy and paved the way for future titans such as Bob Johnson, founder of the Black Entertainment Television cable channel in 1980. But that wasn't the whole story. Cornelius demanded equal Black representation both in front of and behind the cameras. He was one of the first Black moguls to stretch his brand beyond TV, venturing into record production and more. Soul Train quickly became a Saturday morning staple for Americans of every race and creed. Cornelius boldly stared down a clumsy copycat, Dick Clark's attempt with Soul Unlimited, and proved his show was in a league of its own. The famous Soul Train line sparked new dances that turned into a real-life American tradition at weddings, celebrations, and even bar mitzvahs. And the excitement only deepened. Don Cornelius demonstrated a powerful truth about America and race that resonates even today. Unfiltered and unapologetic Black culture, he believed, would eventually be embraced by the mainstream, a fact that future rap moguls like Russell Simmons and Jay-Z instinctively understood. And the day came that no one expected. Tragically and ironically, Soul Train's decline coincided with the dawn of the hip-hop era. Although Cornelius shared a deep spiritual connection with hip-hop entrepreneurs, he couldn't fully adapt his franchise to capture the new genre's pulse. With his deep, resonant voice and ever-growing natural hairdo, he remained unmistakably himself, fueling endless parodies. And that wasn't the whole story. It's uplifting that America is finally beginning to see him as more than just an afro and a deep voice. In 2011, the Soul Train set and its memorabilia found a permanent home at the Smithsonian's Museum of African American History and Culture. Despite his immense wealth, acclaim, and public adoration, nothing could ease his private torment. He battled crippling illness and endured a bitter divorce. Soul Train, one of the longest-running syndicated shows in television history, had its humble beginnings in 1970 on Chicago's WCIU-TV, during a time when popular Black culture had few outlets. It was a daring move that showcased African American music, dance, and fashion on TV like never before. Soul Train opened a window to the diverse faces, talents, and unique experiences of African Americans. Every episode ended with Cornelius himself proclaiming love, peace, and soul, and the legacy grew from there. In its second season in 1971, Soul Train relocated to Los Angeles and was broadcast nationally for the very first time. The show brought together artists from R&B, soul, dance, pop, disco, and gospel, a genuine melting pot of sound and style. By the 1980s, hip-hop joined the lineup, with the program launching emerging talents onto the national stage. And the thrill kept building. Soul Train celebrated both professional and amateur dancers while welcoming performers from every ethnicity. Each episode opened with a whimsical cartoon train and a piercing whistle, and while some guests lip-synced, most performances were live. The true stars, however, were the Soul Train dancers. The original crew came from local Los Angeles schools such as Locke, Crenshaw, and Dorsey, and they dazzled the nation with their dynamic line dancing that showcased each dancer's flair. Though not officially on the payroll, these performers relished the chance to travel the globe. And what came next would astound you. In 1987, Soul Train launched the annual Soul Train Music Awards to honor the best in African American culture, music, and entertainment. By 1993, after 22 years at the helm, Cornelius stepped down, recognizing that audience tastes were changing. The show concluded in 2006 after an incredible 35 seasons. Earlier, in 1995, Cornelius was inducted into the Broadcasting and Cable Hall of Fame, and in 2006, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and the legacy kept evolving. Clarence Avant, a close friend and renowned music producer, once remarked, "You could fit all of Don's friends in a phone booth and still have room." Sporting sharp suits, towering platform shoes, a vibrant afro, and an effortlessly cool demeanor, Cornelius was revered by generations of Americans, both Black and white. Fans treated his Saturday show like a sacred appointment, much like attending church. At his funeral at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in Los Angeles, Reverend Jesse Jackson proudly recounted how many white viewers admitted to secretly watching the show in suburban basements, fearful of parental disapproval. Reverend Jackson even said, "He's right up there with any civil rights leader of our generation, because Cornelius gave people a chance to feel proud of themselves." Soul Train's enduring influence was so potent that it was parodied on In Living Color as Old Train, and a Don Cornelius action figure even became a plot twist on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Yet Cornelius's closest friends and supporters, including Reverend Jackson, still lament the scant recognition he received while alive. If you were to choose the 20 most important figures of the 20th century, Don would unquestionably rank in the top 10, a fact that often brought tears to Clarence Avant's eyes. He never even graced the cover of Ebony magazine or Black Enterprise, and that remains a mystery to many. And the astonishing journey wasn't finished yet. Cornelius's final years were marked by hardship and personal strife. He endured a bitter divorce from his second wife, Victoria Chapman Cornelius, a Russian model he married in 2001, and he struggled with severe health issues, including intense headaches, occasional seizures, and debilitating social anxiety. As a fiercely private man, he only shared what was absolutely necessary, according to those close to him. Despite his isolation, his legendary status sparked an outpouring of grief after his passing, with scores of singers, dancers, and superstars crediting him for jump-starting their careers. At his funeral, both Smokey Robinson and Stevie Wonder recalled how appearances on Soul Train sent their record sales soaring, and his remarkable influence continued to inspire. In 1966, he began working as a disc jockey and news reporter on a Chicago radio show, setting the stage for his future stardom. And that was only the beginning. Just a year later, he transformed into a sports broadcaster on a Black's View of the News. Like so many of his peers, he covered civil rights protests, was stirred by the spirit of Black pride, and passionately sought ways to uplift young Black lives. As Cornelius himself declared in a 2010 documentary, "I had a burning desire to see Black people depicted on television in a positive light." And the momentum only grew from there. Drawing inspiration from Mr. Clark's American Bandstand, he set out to spotlight artists often overlooked by that show, featuring legends like Mr. Brown, the Jackson 5, Marvin Gaye, Aretha Franklin, Stevie Wonder, and Smokey Robinson. His version, Soul Train, rapidly turned into a local sensation. In 1971, Soul Train went national and continued its run for an astounding 35 years, earning its place as the longest-running nationally syndicated TV show. It was the launching pad for countless artists, from the OJs to Destiny's Child. Cornelius frequently infused politics into his broadcasts. Once, in a 1974 episode, he and James Brown decried black-on-black crime during an interview that also featured Al Sharpton, and even a 19-year-old dubbed Brown's hit Payback. Even the commercial breaks made bold statements with sponsors like Afro Sheen and other Black-focused products. As Cornelius told Vibe magazine in 2006, many credit the show with teaching them how to dance, and the legacy kept expanding. But what he took pride in was that Soul Train broke new ground by featuring Black television commercials, something unheard of before its time. Before Soul Train, few ads showcased Black faces. Yet, even as the show soared in popularity, Cornelius struggled to secure a consistent network sponsor. Millions watched via syndication, though the show aired at different times across markets, a disconnect that infuriated Don for years. And the challenges only intensified. There was a glaring disconnect. Every artist clamored to appear on his show, yet the networks consistently rejected him. Mr. Avant recalled how baffling it was, questioning if it was simply racism or something else entirely. Undeterred, Cornelius self-financed Soul Train, even lamenting the lack of color cameras at times. The rivalry between American Bandstand and Soul Train grew fiercer, with a 1973 New York Times critic declaring, "Soul Train is to the old American Bandstand what champagne is to seltzer." The 1980s saw a rapid transformation in the music industry, with MTV and BET emerging as cable giants. Channels that once celebrated Cornelius's legacy, yet gradually chipped away at his audience. Gone were the days of a weekly rendezvous to catch the hottest musicians and dance moves. Now it was an unrelenting barrage. Although Cornelius warmly embraced disco on his show, he harbored serious reservations about the rise of hip-hop and rap, deeming them degrading. "I could do it. I could be like Yo What's Up, but I'd look stupid," he once remarked to an interviewer. 1982, he underwent a grueling operation to repair malformed blood vessels in his brain, an ordeal that changed his life. Nearly 15 years after stepping down as host, Cornelius began contemplating selling Soul Train, the brand he had zealously guarded for decades. His son, Anthony, revealed that while his father was deeply frustrated, he also recognized the music industry's dramatic evolution. Once Cornelius made up his mind, nothing could sway him. His constant refrain was, "I want to make sure my legacy is protected." When he passed away, friends revealed that the legendary creator of soul was grappling with deep personal demons. Though his death brought immense sorrow, many were not shocked that he ended his life with a gunshot to the head. Don was undeniably brilliant, yet in his later years, he made a series of poor business decisions and missteps in his relationships with women. A friend of 30 years recalled how he was easily swayed to invest in doomed projects, and his final marriage shattered his mind, heart, and soul. He was never the same after that painful union. Those close to the smooth-voiced television host painted a picture of a man devastated by poor business choices, declining health, and a bitter divorce that drained hundreds of thousands of dollars from his children and family. Longtime friends like Clarence Avant, the former Motown chairman, insisted that regardless of the reasons behind his death, the music industry owes Cornelius an immense debt. His legacy in music, particularly black music, is eternally cemented in history. News of the music pioneer's passing sparked an overwhelming outpouring of grief from some of pop's biggest icons. Aretha Franklin, a Soul Train performer, issued a statement describing Cornelius's death as sad, stunning, and downright shocking, a monumental loss for the African-American community and the world. Smokey Robinson praised him for bringing black talent and a positive image to young black teens like never before. Don's decline began with a stroke in the last decade, marking the start of a downward spiral. In 2009, he pleaded no contest to a charge of corporal injury resulting in a traumatic condition for a spouse, landing him on 36 months probation. In his bid to end a 5-year marriage, Cornelius expressed his frustration, writing, "I am 72 years old. I have significant health issues. I want to finalize this divorce before I die." And his words resonated with bitter urgency. He told a judge that his temporary spousal support payments far exceeded guideline levels. At that time, Cornelius reported assets that included several properties in Chicago and Los Angeles. The divorce was finally settled in May 2009, with Cornelius required to pay $10,000 a month in spousal support, and even buy his ex-wife a home, capped at a certain amount. A family member recalled, he didn't want to give his wife a dime. She caused him so much heartache and wasn't there for most of his success, but he had to, and it burned him deeply. Despite countless warnings against marrying her, he went ahead, and many believe he was haunted by avoidable mistakes. However, by 2010, a glimmer of hope returned for the former host. He told the Los Angeles Times about a double CD collection of Soul Train highlights and revealed plans for a feature film inspired by the TV show for Warner Brothers. It wouldn't be another dance show like Soul Train. It would be a biographical deep dive into the real story behind the project, he explained. It's going to explore the true events that happened on the show, he added. He even mentioned a recent discussion with Eddie Murphy, who loved the documentary so much he suggested creating a segment about the show's relationship with James Brown, either casting him or crafting a vignette. Just months earlier, Cornelius returned to Chicago for a concert celebrating the 40th anniversary of Soul Train. At the event, he was honored with a street sign bearing his name and the iconic Soul Train logo. That very night, Los Angeles director Swain premiered his documentary, Soul Train, The Hippest Trip in America. "I had never seen him so happy and brimming with joy," said Swain. "His love and respect, especially after the documentary, meant the world to me. He was my hero. My life wouldn't be what it is without Don Cornelius." Los Angeles Sentinel editor Danny Bakewell recalled having lunch at Spago with Cornelius and his son Anthony in late December 2011, never suspecting that his longtime friend was in turmoil. "We were chatting about family and friends," he said, mentioning how his granddaughter was a star volleyball player. "It wasn't all doom and gloom." "I never got the sense he had major health issues," someone said. Though he did move and speak more slowly, he still seemed happy and alert. Yet a family member revealed that Cornelius had faced several cancer scares in the months before his death. "He wasn't perfect, but he was a true man's man," a friend added. "He despised being sick and losing his independence." In his final months, his health took a noticeable downturn, yet he kept the details to himself, never complaining about his hardships. Ultimately, Family members say that losing money to his ex-wife in his last divorce was the final straw that broke the camel's back. He crumbled under the strain of that situation and that disastrous marriage, a friend noted. Though his health had been failing for years, it was that marriage that truly devastated him, draining his energy and clouding his mind. He sank deeper into depression, with little anyone could do to help. He had wanted the marriage to work so badly, yet it fell apart and turned unbearably ugly. He had achieved so much, admired by both Black and white artists and fans. Suddenly, it wasn't only about Black music and dance, it was about Black hair too. Black fashion became a cornerstone of the show's success, with guests arriving in their absolute best attire. Vibrant colors, rich textures of satin and corduroy, dashikis, and sequined blazers with bold shoulder pads and gleaming gold buttons, all mixed with sharp angles and soft leathers. Every detail made a statement. The fashion was uniquely vibrant. Bell-bottoms, exaggerated collars, and flowy blouses combined to create a rich tapestry of style. It showcased the very best of everyone, at a time when Black people on TV were often relegated to minstrels or negative stereotypes, or simply excluded. In his 20s, while working for WCIU, Don Cornelius covered social unrest and encountered influential figures like Reverend Jesse Jackson and Reverend Jr. Tony Cornelius told KCRW, "My father initially just wanted to do a show that presented Blacks in a positive light because there was nothing like that going on. I mean, the only glimpse many had of African Americans was on the news, often during arrests." When it premiered in 1970 in Chicago, Black Americans were still escaping racial terror and poverty in the South during the Great Migration. Although segregation had been legally abolished, its devastating effects still haunted Black communities everywhere. For much of its run, non-Black performers and guests were rare on Soul Train, until May 17, 1975, when Elton John became the first white performer to grace the stage. From that moment, Soul Train evolved into a litmus test for all musicians, especially white ones. There was a clear distinction between creating music solely for white audiences and making music that resonated with Black people as well, a true encapsulation of Soul Train's radical spirit. In this integrated arena, Black culture ruled, setting the standards and deciding who could cross over. And that's it from us today until next time. Thank you for watching.